William Harrington wasn't just wealthy, he was a pillar of high society. His real estate empire stretched across 3 states, with luxury developments that had made him a fortune few could imagine. He lived in a mansion on the city's north side, wearing perfectly tailored suits and attending galas where even the appetizers cost more than most people's rent. His world was governed by unspoken rules of wealth and status that had defined his existence for 7 decades. Zoe Johnson had always worked hard just to get by. She juggled multiple jobs while pursuing her education, determined to create a better life than the one she had known. The South Side neighborhood where she lived with her mother, Diane, was worlds apart from the glamorous life William inhabited. Their paths should never have crossed at all, but fate had other plans. One evening, Zoe picked up an extra shift serving drinks at an elite charity gala. The lavish event was held at the city's most exclusive hotel, raising funds for urban development, ironically in areas much like where Zoe herself lived. She moved carefully between tables of the wealthy and powerful, invisible to most of the guests as she offered trays of champagne. That evening, William Harrington appeared before her suddenly. He approached with an intensity that caught her completely off guard. Instead of taking a drink, he simply stood there, his eyes studying her face. Zoe felt uncomfortable under his gaze but managed a polite smile. He asked for her name before walking away, leaving her confused by the strange encounter. Within days, flowers arrived at the restaurant where Zoe worked her regular job. More followed at her second workplace. William began courting her with an unexpected gentleness that surprised her. He invited her to quiet restaurants for dinner, rather than the city's most exclusive establishments. When they talked, he seemed genuinely interested in her life, her dreams, and her family. Her friends warned her repeatedly about the relationship. What could a man his age possibly want with someone so young? Diane, Zoe's mother, also viewed the relationship with undisguised suspicion from the start. She questioned William's motives relentlessly when Zoe mentioned him. Why would someone from his world even notice someone from theirs? What game was he playing? The warnings only intensified when, after just 3 months of dating, William proposed. The diamond ring he offered was stunning, but not ostentatious. When he asked her to be his wife, Zoe surprised even herself by accepting. The wedding was small but elegant, with few guests from either side. His children refused to attend, and most of her family chose to stay away out of discomfort or disapproval. After they married, Zoe moved into William's mansion, and her adjustment to wealth proved more challenging than she had anticipated. The staff treated her with formal politeness. William's adult children, when forced to interact with her, barely concealed their hostility. At social events, she endured thinly veiled insults and curious stares, aware that many viewed her as nothing but a calculating gold digger who had trapped an elderly man. Through it all, William remained attentive and kind. He defended her against the worst of the social slights and ensured she had everything she needed. But sometimes Zoe caught him looking at her with a mysterious sadness she couldn't decipher. Their life fell into a pattern over the first 6 months of marriage. William continued running his business empire, and Zoe began taking courses at the local university. The mansion was undergoing renovations in the East Wing, which William had mentioned wanting to modernize. One afternoon, with William away on business, the renovation crew made an unexpected discovery. They found an old safe that had been covered up during previous renovations decades earlier. The foreman called Zoe down to see what they had found and asked what she wanted them to do with it. Curious, Zoe asked them to open it if possible. Inside was not the treasure trove of valuables one might expect, but rather a collection of faded photographs carefully preserved in an album, along with a few letters tied with a faded ribbon. As Zoe flipped through the photographs, her heart began to race. The images dated from the 1970s, showing a young man she recognized as William in his 20s. But what made her hands shake was the woman in the photos, a young black woman, dancing and laughing with William. A woman whose face Zoe had seen countless times in old family photos. Her grandmother, Rose. The resemblance was unmistakable. Rose as a young woman, beautiful, vibrant, and clearly in love with the young man who would become Zoe's husband 50 years later. Photo after photo showed them together in different places, always looking at each other with unmistakable affection. Zoe sat down, her legs suddenly weak. She continued examining the contents of the safe, finding letters exchanged between William and Rose, speaking of dreams and plans together. When William returned home that evening, Zoe was waiting with the photo album open on the table between them. His face drained of color when he saw what she had discovered. For several long moments, he couldn't speak. When he finally broke the silence, tears filled his eyes. William revealed the truth he had kept hidden. 50 years earlier, as a young developer working on his first major project, he had fallen deeply in love with Rose Johnson while surveying her neighborhood. Their relationship had flourished despite the era's racial tensions. They had planned a future together, dreaming of leaving behind the prejudices of their time. But when William's family discovered the relationship, they threatened to disinherit him. Business partners made it clear they would abandon projects if he continued loving a black woman. Faced with losing everything he had worked for, William made a choice that would haunt him for decades. He chose his career over love. He broke Rose's heart and walked away, marrying a woman from his social circle. He built his empire and raised children, but never forgot Rose. After his wife died, he had begun searching for Rose, hoping to make amends or at least see her once more. Then she had passed away nearly a decade earlier. His investigation led him to learn about her family, including her daughter Diane and granddaughter Zoe. When he saw Zoe for the first time, the resemblance to her grandmother nearly took his breath away. William admitted orchestrating their meeting at the charity gala, not with romantic intentions initially, but hoping to somehow make amends to Rose's family. The revelation shattered Zoe's understanding of their relationship. Every moment they had shared now appeared in a different light. Had he loved her at all, or was she merely a replacement for her grandmother? Was their marriage nothing but an old man's attempt to ease his conscience? Zoe left the mansion that night, returning to her mother's apartment. Through tears, she explained everything to Diane. For the first time, Diane revealed what Zoe had never known. She had grown up hearing fragments of her mother's heartbreak over a white man who had abandoned her for his career and social standing. For weeks, tension mounted as William tried repeatedly to make amends, all to no avail. His attempts to explain were met with Diane's cutting reminder that his guilt couldn't be solved with checkbooks. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. William visited Diane, bringing not money or proposals, but a single letter, the last one Rose had written to him. In it, Rose had written that despite the pain he caused, she never regretted loving him. Those words finally allowed Diane to see beyond her anger. While she would never fully forgive William, she gradually accepted that helping her family could be his way of honoring her mother's memory. For Zoe, understanding the full story transformed her marriage. What began as a relationship built on hidden motives had evolved into a chance for redemption and a new beginning. Their marriage would never be conventional, but it had become something perhaps more valuable. A bridge across time, healing wounds inflicted decades before. Would you have been able to forgive someone who kept such a life-changing secret? Or would the deception have been too great to overcome?